Hello everyone, welcome back to the Java tutorial series. In this video, we will learn about return types in Java methods. You will understand what a return type is, what are different types of return values, the void return type, and we will see different practical examples. So let's get started. So the first question is, what is the return type? What is return type? So when a method, any method finishes executing, so it can return a value. Okay. So here we can see, right? This is method definition. So after finishing executing of this method, after executing all the statement of the method, it can return a value. So the type of the value is called return type. What type of value it will return? So the type of value this method will return, we call it as return type, which we write just before the method name. So the same return type it should return at the end of the method, that is within the method, but it will be after execution of the method. So Java checks that the returned value matches the declared return type. This one is what? This one is declared return type. So Java will check the value we have provided at the return statement matches the declared return type or not. It should match, then only it will run, otherwise it will throw compilation error. Okay, so here it is written, a return type specifies what value a method sends back. Okay, return type, this is the return type. So a return type specifies what value a method sends back. Okay, so this method is sending it back after execution. Okay, so every method must declare a return type. Okay, it can be void also or non-void. We'll see an example, we'll have better clarity, no worries. And the third point is the returned value must match the declared return type. Just now we have seen this value should match the return type which is declared in the method definition just before the method name. Okay, now let's see the types of return types. So for return type also we have like different types. Okay, so what we can use, it can be either primitive values, objects, arrays, collections. We'll see in the later videos what is this collection and all. Okay, but for now, collection, objects, this we have not seen yet. Okay, so these things we will see in the later videos in detail. So we can use string, we can use boolean, we can use character, we can use void. So these are the return types we can use in the method definition. So Java methods can return many different kind of values. Okay, what different kind of values? This includes primitive values, objects, arrays, collections, strings, boolean, characters, or no value at all. No value means the last one. If we don't want to send any value, then that is no value, we'll use void. Okay, we'll see examples. So let's go to IntelliJ and see some examples for better clarity. So we are learning return types of return type. Okay, so let's define one method. Where do we define method? Inside class. Class will have multiple methods. So main is one of the method. So this is one method present inside the class main. If we want to define one more method, then we can define inside class only. We cannot define method inside method. Okay. So here we need to define, and we use static. Why static? Because this is what method definition. Okay. So we are defining method. So this is method definition. Okay. So after defining, we will call it inside this main method, right? So, and this method is what? Static. So static method can call static method only. This is one of the rule. Don't worry, for now we will see in much detail what is the static, how to use, where to place those things. But for now, just know the basic syntax of method, what we have learned so far. What will be the return type? So till now we have seen the return type as void in the previous examples, right? But in this example, we will take return type as int. Okay, this is what return type. Then method name. Method name is add. And parameters. I hope you are aware of parameters now. Then parameters int a comma int b. So we are using two parameters in this method definition. Now, since we are using return type int, here we are using int return type. So if we are using return type int, then we have to use return statement. So after executing the methods, let's say this is the method definition, and inside body we will have different n number of lines. Okay, it can be 10 lines, 100 lines, 1000 lines. Okay, and after execution of all these lines, we will return what? Return some value which will be of data type integer. Here we have defined what will be the type of return data type. So we have defined int. So since the method is add, by name it is clear, we will be adding in a plus b. So a plus b, what it will return? It will return some value, right? It will return some value. And what is the data type of that value? The data type of that value will be int only. Why? Because a and b are of int type. So a plus b will return some value which will be of int type, and the return type we have provided is also int. Why I am saying this? Because Java will check the type of this value and the type which we have provided here, that is return type. If it does not match, if both doesn't match, it will throw compilation error. Okay, so for now method is good. We have defined with two parameters, and we've added one more thing, return type. I hope you remember previously we used to write like this, void, but now we are using int. Since we are using int, we need to return integer type. Okay, now we will call how to call method by name of the method add, and we need to pass arguments. I hope you understood what arguments are. Argument means the actual value, what actual value we want to 12 comma 13. Okay, now but in this method we are returning one value, right? After, see, we are passing 12 and 13, so 12 will be going to A and 13 will be going to B, and we are returning 13 plus 12, that is what 25. So this 25 value will be returning from this method. So after calling we will get 25 value. We need to store somewhere int result equals to, now we have 25 value. So after execution of this method we'll get 25, and this 25 value will be assigned to variable result, okay, which is of int type. Okay, let's print then what result we are getting. Let's verify it. So in the output you can see it is 25 what we calculated. So here the method returns an integer type. Return type is what? Integer. That's why we are using here integer result. So the return type is int. So the returned value must also be an integer. Okay. Now let's take another example. Let me comment this out. I will comment this also. Now let's take another example. Static. This time, instead of what will be the return type, I will take string get message. This is what method name. Okay. In this case, I am not taking any parameter. I don't want any parameter. I am simply returning one string. Welcome. So what this method is doing? This method is returning, and what is the return type of this method? String. So that's why in the return statement I have provided welcome, that is of string type. Now I will call this method. How to call method? Method name. And since we are not using any parameters, we don't need to pass any arguments. I hope it is much clearer now. So this method call will print? It will print welcome. Let's verify. Oh, see, in the output we are not seeing any welcome, right? Why? Because this method is returning welcome string. What this method is returning? What is the return type of method? This method type of return type is string. So this method will return string data type. But here we are just calculating method. We are not storing values which we are getting from this method. So after method call we will get some string value, but we are not storing anywhere. So we need to store somewhere string result equals to. Now after calculation of this method, after execution of this method, we are getting output as welcome. Now this string we are storing in result, and finally we will print result. Now let's verify. So in the output, in the console, now we can see the output as welcome. Previously we were just calling the method, but we are not. After calling method, method is returning some value, right? But we were not storing somewhere. But now we are storing in result and we are printing it. So we are getting welcome. So method can also return a string. Since the return type is a string, Java expects a string object to be returned. Okay. So this is string object. Okay. Now let's take another one more different data type example. So I will define one more method, static. Let's say boolean. Okay, boolean is even. This is what method name. Okay, and inside parameter, this time I am taking one parameter, number. Okay, what I am doing, I am taking one parameter and the return type of this method is boolean. Okay, this is the return type. I hope you know the syntax. Return type, method name, and then the parameter. And here is the method body. Since we are using return type in the method definition, we have to add return statement somewhere in the body. Okay, I'm not writing a number of lines, I'm just returning. So I am is even. By method name it is clear. I am checking in the method whether the number is even or not. So I am taking number as an input, and that number I will check whether it is even or not. If it is even, I will return boolean value that is true, and if it is not even, or you can say it is odd, then it will return false. Which will return false? This method will return false. So return type is boolean. So number mod percentage sign to, what it will give? Number mod to, what it will give? Number mod to percentage to, it will give the reminder. If it is a reminder, if it is even number, what will be the reminder? For even number, what will be the reminder? Let's take one example. Let's say number is 4. If we divide 4 by 2, what is the remainder? Remainder will be 0. Let's take another even number, 8. If we divide 8 by 2, the remainder will be 0. That means for even numbers, if remainder is 0, that means that number is even. Okay, so remainder equals to 0. So this expression will return true. And if it is, this expression is incorrect, means is not equal to 0, then it will return false. So this method will return true if number is even, and if it is odd, it will return false. As simple as that. Now we will call this method. How to call the method? Method name is even. But in this case, in the method definition, we have one parameter of integer type. So we need to pass arguments. Arguments means actual value. And what will be the data type of that actual value? Integer. Okay, since parameter is of integer type. So let's say I'm passing 20. 20 is what? Even number, right? So it should return true. So after calling this method, it is returning true, but I am nowhere storing that value. So I will store that value boolean result. Why I have taken boolean here? Because the return type of this method is boolean. So after calling this method, after execution of this method, it will return boolean value. So I have to store in the boolean. Now I will print the result. Let's verify it. See, the output is true. Why true? Because I have passed argument as 20 and 20 is even number. So this condition becomes true. So it is returning true. So this method is returning true, and I am taking that value in the result variable, and I am printing that value result. So Boolean return types are commonly used for validation. It is used for validation and decision making methods. Okay. So likewise, we can use this concept of a return type for different data types. It can be primitive, it can be non-primitive, it can be array, it can be object, it can be collection. Okay. And let's say I don't want to return anything from this method. So far we have seen the example of return, right? We are returning something from the method. Now let's say I don't want to return anything from the method. I don't want to return any method. I will comment this out. So I will define one method static. What will be the return type if I don't want to return anything? So if we don't want to return anything, then we will use the return type as void and the method name, let's say demo. Method name is demo, and I am not taking any parameters, and I don't want to return anything. I will just simply print hello. Okay, no return type, nothing. We are using return type as void. And if we want to call the method, we'll simply call the method by method name demo. No arguments, nothing. Let's verify it. So see, it just executed this method and print hello. So when a method performs an action but does not return any value, we use the void return type. Okay. And Java methods cannot directly return multiple values. Okay. So in the above example, you can see return string, return boolean, return int. But you might be thinking, can I return multiple values? Here we are returning only single values, right? 25, welcome, true. So these are what? Single values. Now you must be thinking like, what if I want to return multiple values? How do I do that? So in that case, to return multiple values, okay, Java methods cannot directly return multiple values. So different approaches are possible. So instead of the value, the data type should be object. It can be object, or else we can use array. As we all know, array is what? Collection of values. Okay. So instead of integer, we can use integer array or string array. So we can use array return type. So by this, we can return the multiple values. Likewise, we can use collection, object. So to return multiple pieces of information, we usually return an object, array, collection, like that. Okay. Now, let's see return statement rules. So Java verifies that every return statement matches a declared return type. So in this example, see, what is the return type of this method? Integer. What Java verifies? Java verifies that every return statement, every return statement matches. So this data type of A and B is what? Data type of A and B should match to this return type. A and B of data type of A and B are integer. It should match with this one. So this thing will be verified by Java, and multiple return statements are allowed. How it is allowed? because at a time only one return statement will execute. This is if block, right? If this condition is true, it will return A. It will not go into this statement. And if this condition is false, whatever condition may be, okay, if this condition is false, it will not execute this return statement. It will go to this statement. So in the whole method, at a time, only one return statement will get executed. And after executing return statement, the method will end in the same return statement, whichever return is executed. So multiple return statements are allowed, but once one executes and the method ends immediately. So here what they have written, return type and return value must match. What is the return type? A and B. These are the return type. Sorry. Return type. This is the return type. Int. Okay. And returned values. Here it is returned values. Value means this one. A and B. So return type and return values must match. Okay. Then what is the second point? A non-void method must return a value. Non-void means what? Integer, float, double, character, boolean, array, object, collection. So these are all non-void. Non-void means some value it should return. So somewhere in the method we should have one return statement. So that's what it is written. Non-void method must return a value. And the third point, a void method cannot return a value. In the previous example we have seen, right? If we don't want to return any value from the method, we will use the data type as return type as void. Now a method can have multiple return statements, but only one executes. Okay, we have already seen this one. Now the common mistakes we do. Okay, what common mistakes we do? Like let's say there is one method we defined static int and some method name, let's say get number. This is what method name, no parameters, nothing, and then this is the method. Simply we have defined and we have written somewhere something. Okay, that means missing return type. We have not added return type, so this will be like mistake. If you are providing non-void return type, so definitely we need to write like return, and we should pass value of int type here. So we should not miss return statement if we have provided return type. Otherwise it will throw compilation error, compile time error. Okay. So what are the best practices? So well-designed methods return useful values that other parts of the program can use. Okay. So how useful values? So first point is choose meaningful return types. Meaningful means what? Based on our requirement, based on our usage, we have to see and we have to choose the appropriate return type. Return values instead of printing inside methods whenever possible. It is telling like, suppose we have one method, okay, xyz is the method name, okay, and inside method we are printing something, print system.out.println, and we are printing something inside method. So we should not print inside method. Instead, we should return some value, whatever you are printing. Instead of printing, just return that value. And wherever we are calling this method xyz, we are calling, so there we will store somewhere string result. So instead of using print statement inside method, we will return here. Okay, we will return from method, and wherever we are calling method, from where we will store in the variable, and there in the main program we will print. Okay, so that's what it is telling, return values instead of printing inside method. We should not print inside method, we should return. Okay, now third point is keep methods focused on one responsibility. Modular programming, we should keep one method for one functionality. If one method has two responsibility, then break that method into two methods. Okay, then use void only when no value needs to be returned. If we are not returning any values, then we should use void data type. Okay, avoid returning null unnecessarily. So we'll see in the later video, like somewhere we'll use like this, return null, like that in methods. So this thing also we should not do. We should use appropriate values and definition. So we should not use this returning null statements. Okay, so these are what best practices we should keep in mind while writing the code. So let's quickly summarize what we have learned so far. So what return types are: primitive return types, returning strings. We have seen examples of strings, boolean type, integer type, how to return. And we can also use objects, arrays, collection for multiple return values. And we have also seen what common mistakes we do, and also we have seen the best practices we should follow in our codings. So we explored Java return types and learned how methods can return different kind of values from primitive to objects and collections. That's all for this video. I hope this tutorial helped you understand return types in the methods. And thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.